56% of Americans cannot cover a $1,000 emergency from savings. That is Federal Reserve data from 2023. You have probably heard every rule in the book, and yet, here we are. Here is what nobody tells you. The rules you were handed. The 50-30-20 rule. Pay yourself first. Build your emergency fund before anything else. These are not wrong rules. They are misread rules, and misreading them is costing you decades of wealth. The 50-30-20 rule says spend 50% of your income on needs, 30% on wants, and save 20%. Sounds clean. Sounds logical. But here is the problem. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the median household income in 2010 was $74,580. After federal taxes, you are working with roughly $60,000. 20% of that is $12,000 a year in savings. That sounds achievable until you look at what housing actually costs. The National Association of Realtors. Let us talk about what the data actually says about how wealth is built in America. Because the first insight changes everything. Most people think saving money is the path to wealth. It is not. Saving money is the foundation. Investing is the path. Here is the proof. The S&P 500 has delivered an average annual return of approximately 10.5% over the last 50 years, according to data from S&P Global. A high-yield savings account today pays around 4.5 to 5%. That sounds competitive right now because interest rates are elevated. But the Federal Reserve's own projections show rates declining through 2025 and 2026. The moment rates drop, your savings account stops looking like a strategy and starts looking like a parking. The misread version of the 50-30-20 rule treats that 20% as a savings target. The correct read treats it as an investment mandate. That 20% needs to be working, not sitting. Even moving just half of your savings rate into a low-cost index fund inside a Roth IRA, or your employer's 401k, changes the trajectory of your financial life dramatically over a 20 to 30-year horizon. The math is not subtle. The behavior change required is smaller than you think. The second insight is about the emergency fund rule, and this one is genuinely misread by almost everyone. You have been told to build 3 to 6 months of expenses before you do anything else. Full stop. Save first, invest later. Here is the problem with that sequence. Bureau of Labor Statistics data shows that the average American household spends approximately $5,111 per month on living expenses. 6 months of expenses is over $30,000. For a median income household saving $500 to $700 a month after bills. That is 3 to 5 years of saving before they ever invest a single dollar. 3 to 5 years of zero compounding. 3 to 5 years of watching inflation silently erode their purchasing power. The Bureau of Economic Analysis reports that the U.S. inflation rate. Here is the reframe that changes the math. Financial researchers at Vanguard published analysis showing that a $1,000 to $2,000 liquid emergency buffer, combined with an accessible Roth IRA, from which contributions, not earnings, can be withdrawn penalty-free, functions as a more efficient emergency fund for most working adults. You get the protection. You get the compounding. You do not sacrifice 4 years of investment growth waiting to hit an arbitrary savings threshold. This is not about ignoring risk. It is about understanding that the sequence you were taught was designed for a different risk profile than the one you are actually living. The emergency fund rule is not wrong. The rigid invest nothing until it is fully funded interpretation of it is what keeps people stuck. Third insight. The biggest wealth leak most middle-income Americans have is not their coffee habit. It is not subscriptions. It is their employer match. According to Vanguard's 2023 How America Saves report, 25% of workers who are eligible for a 401k employer match are not contributing enough to capture the full match. The average employer match is roughly 4.4% of salary. On a $74,000 income, that is $3,156 per year in free compensation being left on the table. Over 30 years, assuming that match is invested in a diversified index fund earning 10% annually, that uncaptured match compounds to over $580,000. Now layer in the tax advantage. A traditional 401k contribution reduces your taxable income dollar for dollar. If you are in the 22% federal tax bracket, every $1,000 you contribute only costs you $780 out of pocket. That is an immediate 22% return before the market does anything. The S&P 500 would need 4 years of average returns to match what the tax deduction gives you on day one. The practical application is direct. Before you optimize your budget, before you cut spending categories, before you automate any savings account, confirm 2 things. 1. Are you contributing at least enough to your 401k to capture every dollar of your employer match? 2. Do you have a Roth IRA opened and funded for this tax year? These 2 actions taken together. So, if the data is this clear, why do 95% of people still not do it? The answer is a cognitive bias called present bias. Present bias is the documented tendency for humans to overweight immediate costs and underweight future rewards. It is not a character flaw. It is hardwired. Behavioral economists at the National Bureau of Economic Research have shown that present bias is one of the strongest predictors of undersaving across all income levels. The retirement account contribution feels like a loss today. The benefit is 30 years away. Your brain is not wired to feel the urgency of a future self. It is wired to protect your current comfort. This is why the conventional advice fails so consistently. Telling someone to save 20% of their income is a willpower challenge. Willpower is a finite. Here is the 5-minute fix. Right now, not after this video, not this weekend. Open your 401k portal or call HR and increase your contribution rate by 1%. Just 1% of $74,000 is $62 a month. You will not feel that in your paycheck after taxes. But compounded over 30 years at historical market returns, that single 1% increase adds over $120,000 to your retirement balance, according to compound interest modeling consistent with S&P 500 historical averages. Then, set a calendar reminder for 90 days from today to increase it by 1 more percent. This is called the Save More Tomorrow strategy, developed by behavioral economists. The research on Save More Tomorrow programs shows participation rates jumping from 3% to over 65% when this framing is used. The math did not change, the psychology did. The rules you were taught are not the enemy. The misreading of them is. If this video shifted how you see your money, hit subscribe. We publish data-backed personal finance every week. No fluff, no generic advice. And next week, we are breaking down exactly why your credit score is being weaponized against you, and the move most financial advisors will never tell you to make. Do not miss it.